It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 365. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Grace.
Hi.
Kodra.
Good old Bobby Tables, we used to call him.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
There's literally 1 year of AggroChat.
Wow.
Yeah.
In numerical shows.
Yeah, listen to an episode a day.
That took 6 or 7 years to record, whatever it is.
I would hope it's at least 7 years. I would imagine a little more than that.
Like 7 or 8. Yeah.
So every so often we have done one of these shows where we go full spoilers on Final Fantasy XIV. And since we're a couple weeks out from the release of Endwalker, it's been a while since we've done one of the post-content shows. I know we did one, I think the first episode that Grace was ever on was the ARR post-content show.
I think that's right.
That was a good post-content set.
It was. Which is
kind of important because it made up for kind of like ARR eventually got good, but it was definitely not their strongest entry in a main story quest.
So what's been interesting, this is just a little aside, like watching all these new people playing Final Fantasy XIV, and they're like, people told me that like ARR wasn't that good, but oh my god, it's really good. And then they hit Heavens where it's like, oh, okay, no, this is why you said that, because like
yeah,
things really pick up from this point on.
Yeah, it's honestly, in comparison, it's not that, it's not as good.
Compared to the games they were playing, story's great in ARR.
It has one.
Yeah.
Story. Anyway, so with Endwalker coming up, we thought it would be a good idea to do one of these post shows and basically talk about the Shadowbringers 5.1 through 5.55 patches. And when I was compiling all of the information to kind of use as a reference, because like for some of us it had been a while since we had played 5.1, 5.2, and even 5.3. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens in this patch content.
Yep.
So I kind of think like it's really important for us to set the stage that before 5.1, we had just gone on this emotional roller coaster with probably the best Final Fantasy villain to date.
I mean, it was definitely the best Final Fantasy XIV expansion, possibly the best Final Fantasy story ever. Like,
right.
Really gotta say, they did some stuff in that expansion, like especially the way they tied it to you, and they tied you into the broader story. And then there are just some moments like the moment where you realize you are summoning 7 other versions of yourself from across the different shards.
Right.
Like actual goosebumps.
Oh, that's just an incredible moment.
Well, and like Emmett Selk himself, like, is so up until this point, like the Ascians had kind of been, I don't know, a little on the snidely Whiplash spectrum of being just like mustache twirling villains.
Mm-hmm.
They were literal boogeymen. They could like take over the minds of anyone, and they could be anywhere. They were like very, very like all of the big villain tropes, Cylons plus boogeymen, and like you had no idea what they were doing. Like their motives were entirely alien to you. They were just there to be awful.
And try to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And this expansion basically let us understand their motives. And to be honest, were I them,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would be reacting differently. Like, to them, their world was destroyed and they're just trying to get back to the state of the world that they knew.
I mean, there's literally a Final Fantasy game where you, the hero, are in that situation. Tactics Advance.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
yeah, it's
Maybe you're not
entirely
the good guy in
understandable,
Tactics
Right, like-
Advance, by the way.
But the thing is like, maybe we're also not the good guy here, because like we have been going around and destroying these Ascians. Like, we figured out a way to do it. Like, they thought they were immortal. We figured out a way to just destroy them. And we have been doing it one by one. And at the time of Shadowbringers, there were 2 left. There's Emmett Selk and Elliptibus.
I mean, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Right. But there
Well,
are two people
unsundered
yeah,
Ascians.
there are 2 guys running around claiming to be unsundered Ascians at that point.
Sure.
Yeah.
And 2 members of possibly 3 members of the convocation.
One of whom has seemed like he might be a reasonable guy, because Elidibus was, did a pretty good job for a while there of like seeming like he wanted to be diplomatic.
Yeah, but I was always pretty suspicious of Elidibus because Urianger trusted him.
Well, yeah, Urianger makes bad decisions.
Okay, so I have to share this, but like one of my friends that recently started playing Final Fantasy XIV decided that his nickname for Urianger is Urine Jar. And it just cracks me up every time he says it. Like,
Not inaccurate. I'm not gonna.
Urianger has grown on me over the years, but he's still not my favorite character.
Like,
Nope. Hated him when I met him. Still feel the same way, however many years later.
it's like,
Yeah.
maybe he's finally learned that maybe he shouldn't keep things from us.
No.
But I'll believe it when I
No.
see it.
No,
That's the
not
thing.
at all.
He says, I've learned my lesson. No more secrets from you. And then immediately starts keeping secrets from you.
It's legitimately less than 10 minutes of gameplay.
I don't know.
It's maddening. I actually, so like Emmett Selch is a great like case study in writing a good villain. And like, I don't know, one of the things that stands, because let me be completely clear, Emmett Selch is a monster. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
but he is a monster not because he's like destructive and bloodthirsty, but because he is doing something unconscionable and has rationalized it as the correct choice.
I mean, he is also extremely relatable because, boy, does it feel like I know a lot of people who will do unconscionable things trying to seek a past they view as better.
Yeah. And the problem is the Ascians view everyone that isn't an Ascian as an imperfect version of themselves. Like, things will be better if you just let us do this thing, because you'll be back in whole again. Like,
The commentary is not subtle.
No.
yeah.
Like, it is an unsubtle allegory. But I say all of that to say, like, because so much of this expansion was about understanding the motivations of Ascians and to a large extent not understanding the motivations of Ascians so that they can be sympathetic, but so that we can fight them better. And I feel like that's a really important distinction. And now I'm going to start a fight. This is why I don't think Kefka is a compelling villain, because Kefka is just a murderous clown.
No, he's the Joker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, also, I don't care too much for the Joker as a villain, because again, there's nothing there to understand and there isn't anything redeeming there. And like once upon a time, you can imagine that Emmett Selch was a reasonable and even good person. It's just that time and tragedy and horrible rationalizations have made him into a genocidal monster.
Yeah. I mean, this is a man who lost his entire reality. Like, you can see how that would break someone.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that's interesting is like, you know, because, you know, in dealing with the 5.0 story run, we're dealing with Emmett Selch a lot. In dealing with the post patch, we're dealing with Elidibus a lot. And in both cases, they are Ascians that thought they could be our quote-unquote ally and end up using us for their means, and that backfired on them. Like, it is a story of them second-guessing the player and it backfiring on them. So, like, when we left Emmett Selch, you know, his parting words were, remember us, remember that we once lived.
Which
And
I'm going to say, I think is also a, like, maybe this is a stretch, but I think that's like character growth for Emmett Selch at the very end, because like that's the thing that you get to ask of us. You get to ask that we remember you.
Yes.
I mean, and I really do think that in that moment, he had a realization that the salvation of the star is no longer in his hands. It is in our hands. And the plot that is going to unfold is going to be vastly different than what he had in mind.
I mean, I think one of the big things that happened in that last moment, in that last fight, is he realized that we are real, and we do deserve to exist.
Yeah, and honestly, like I actually don't think it was character growth. I don't think that he had like an epiphany at the end, because I don't think that he actually changed his opinion about the countless denizens of the star that he thought were lesser. He's just like, oh, but you're not. And
you're different.
Yeah, and like I don't think that actually makes him any better. Like I don't think it's redeeming in any way.
And I don't even know how much of that is really any sort of growth versus just the realization that he's finished, and so all he can do is ask us to remember.
Right. He's like, well, you proved that you're at least as good as I am. I
guess
am
you
an
get
empiricist, so I can't exactly argue the point.
So Emmett Selch aside, because if we don't actually get started on the patch content, we're never going to make it through the patch content.
Sure.
We're left in this situation where all of the scions are still in the first with no way to get home, so a lot of the 5.1 start of the patch is trying to figure out a way to send everybody home.
Largely because Grahatia did not die as he expected he would in this process.
Yeah.
Right.
His intention was he would die, and that would presumably cause the spell to end, and they would go back. I don't know whether that would have actually worked. I don't know.
Yeah,
He thought it would have.
He thought it would.
Which, like, yet another time, I'm going to put on a list of me going, God damn it, Grahatia.
I mean, like, he does what he thinks is a good idea at the time. He doesn't always think it through.
He has the same problem as Urianger.
Yeah,
he's even more impulsive than Urianger.
Well,
he's up in his head all the time.
He's more impulsive than Urianger, but he like comes up with these elaborate secret plans. It doesn't tell anyone, and then like, oh shit, it went horribly wrong. What a shocker! Let's be trite and let's be like contrite and whoops, that was a big error. Like, share your thoughts for once ever.
Well,
Take a page out of Yoshtolo's book.
He's
Please.
like Urianger, but he also desperately wants to be like Senpai.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's not helping because he wants to be a hero, and that means he is always willing to put himself at the sacrificial front because that's what a hero would do.
Well, and the thing that I think is really notable is that as the Warrior of Light, you don't actually do that thing. You talk to everyone constantly about your plans.
Yes.
Almost to a ridiculous degree.
I will say I am glad that it seems like Alphino is no longer doing that thing.
Alphino has grown a lot.
Yes.
I'm very happy for him.
Alphino no longer desires to be... Well, I mean, he definitely still wants it, but he no longer does that thing to try and be the smartest person in the room.
So we have everybody basically stuck in the first, and we're starting to sense that there's a timetable associated with needing to get back home because
their bodies back home are getting colder and more waxen, and
Kryle informs us that, like, hey, I'm having to do stuff to try and stabilize their ether so that, you know, they're okay. Please find a way to bring them home. So we set off to Ilmeg to find Becklug, which is, I don't even remember what they're called.
Numu.
He's a Numu.
Yeah, Numu.
The fairies that do deals with you.
Yes. The puppy dog fairies.
Yes.
I'm going to be totally honest. Like, patch 5.1, I am not going to describe as the high point of the post-patch content.
I think 5.1 was okay.
It was a lot of, like, running around and doing stuff that's like... It's the patch equivalent of the swimsuit episode in an anime. Where it's like a filler episode.
Okay.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, that's kind of what it was. Like, you know, the high point is that you know, Alice A creates Angelo.
Yeah, Angelo.
The Porksy.
We would die for Angelo.
Boring
Angelo's
stuff had to happen. Some more interesting stuff could happen in later patches.
But you know, like, you find out a bunch of stuff, like, you know, so Chai Nuz is elected mayor of Yulmore. So, like,
and this is excellent because we love them.
We know
his wife,
we love
they're great.
The Nuz family. But yeah, like, there's a whole side quest of him taking on the mantle of mayor and, you know, giving a speech. We talk to Estinian and find out what's been going on with him and Gaius in Garlemald.
It's time to go fight some weapons.
And there's talk, and this plot thread kind of went nowhere, so I assume it's going to go somewhere in Endwalker, that they're working on, like, some weird mutated version of the Ultima weapon. It's got, like, a dude in it or something.
I mean, that is
the entire weapon quest line.
Yeah, that's the weapon quest line.
The weapon quest line is getting the robot Shinji. It's you got Eva in my Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't think was that part of the main story?
It was not.
It's not.
It's a side.
I didn't do it
because I don't remember that.
So what happens is because I've done these probably more recently. It's a main story quest where they're like, "Hey, all of my kids that I adopted are now getting in the robot Shinjis, and I'm very sad about this." It's sad dad Gaius Baltar.
Ugh.
Yeah, Gaius's 5 adopted dragon kids are, like, slowly sacrificing themselves into the robots.
Yep.
And it's sad times.
No, so yeah, that whole story goes places. Like, you have a whole bunch of, you get to fight Ruby weapon and then Sapphire weapon and then Emerald weapon.
And when you fight Sapphire, you get to fly your own Eva.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
that
pretty
one was
entertaining.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that content.
After Emerald, there is Diamond. So
Oh, I did not. I'm on Sapphire right now. It's interesting.
It is
'cause-
less interesting than the main story and less interesting than Eden, but not terrible, not like unredeemable.
Yeah.
So this is like the equivalent of the animal bosses from Stormblood, then.
Yes.
I
This
was
is the
going
initial-
Except
to
more
say,
interesting than that.
Okay.
This is less interesting than the Hildebrand fights from the post ARR. Is that when? Is that when we
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
Ultros and Big
Yes.
Bridge?
Yes.
yeah,
But apparently we just don't get any Hildebrand, and
Those were
Yes.
some of the best fights, because, like, in leveling, I would queue for the trowels and occasionally get those. And they were great. Like, they're such fun fights.
but yeah, I really thought when Hildebrand got pulled into the void by Greg that meant we'd be seeing him on the first, but I guess not.
I mean,
We will be seeing him on the moon.
it sort of did.
Presumably.
I mean, he does show up in the Gauntlet of Heroes dungeon.
Yeah, he shows up way later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like if you are lucky, he can show up during that clear.
Okay. So it doesn't happen every time. That's why I didn't see
I
him.
think Nashu also shows up. I don't remember. Anyway, so the other kind of thing that happens in 5.1 is we find out that Xenos, because of his artificial echo, I guess can resurrect himself.
Hooray.
I mean, like, and it seemed like he took up residence in a different body for a while.
Yeah, he like resurrected himself inside the corpse of a random like Alamegan soldier.
yeah,
We knew
as
this
you
before
do.
5.1.
Right, yeah, that was from last expansion, but
Yep.
like
And then, like,
he's restored to his.
She like stole his own body or something.
Yeah.
I mean, Elidibus previously stole his body, so, he's just taking it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
But yeah, so basically he was able to kind of sort of do Ascian kind of stuff to a degree.
This does kind of
Yay.
imply that we could do these things if we ever got actually killed.
Yeah. But luckily we've got Heidelin keeping us alive.
I mean,
I have to say, it is a testament to how much I trust the storytelling prowess of the FF14 team after the just fantastic storyline of Shadowbringers, that going into Endwalker with it's Xenos again is not just an immediate turnoff.
Like like the villains that we know we're dealing with going into Endwalker are just the two giantest assholes that I
the
never wanted to deal
worst.
with again.
Well,
Yeah.
and they're not, and it's like
Ah.
not even interesting. That's the part that drives me bonkers.
yeah.
They appear to be very much like, I'm tired of the world and it should all end
They
because
just want to watch the world burn.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, and I guess we'll get to it, but like Xenos is like, I had a great fight. I want to have a great fight again. And like, okay, cool.
Yeah, he doesn't even.
I mean, that
He's
is
not
like
even
his
that into
entire
that.
motivation at this point.
It's his
Yeah.
entire motivation. And I'm like, that's like the absolute best possible thing that could happen in Endwalker, as far as I'm concerned, is 12 minutes into it, there is a one-on-one you versus Xenos duty, and you just punk him in like 2 hits and go on with your life.
Yeah, I'm hoping for something like that. Like,
Yeah.
It would be so incredible if it was just like he runs up and you just like tap him once and he dies, and you're like, all right, moving on. Somebody else can even
Well,
white R-site that guy.
'cause-
We're done.
Because basically, like, we're way more powerful than when we first fought him.
mhm.
Like, we have a whole other soul inside of us,
Yeah.
which brings us to, at the very end of the 5.1 patch, we see Ardbert. Why
And
is
I'm-
Ardbert walking around when he's basically part of us now?
Yeah,
But he's walking around.
and I'm very glad that they did not try to make it some like mystery. It's like, is it really Ardbert? Blah blah blah. No, it's like we're immediately like, no, that's not.
Nope. not
Like,
real. That can't
The
possibly
Scions
be
are
real.
like, that can't be, and
Yep.
Yeah.
no. So we know immediately. All right, there's an Ascian walking around in Ardbert's corpse. God damn it!
Now get out.
I gotta say, find it a little annoying that everyone's like, "Oh man, whoever this Ascian in Ardbert's corpse is really outplaying us. There's absolutely nothing we could do to possibly dissuade the people from his words." It's like, I think we have a little bit of credibility. Like,
Well, so that
We could
that all
try.
happens in 5.2, where basically, like we don't know that Ardbert's back, other than like us as the character doesn't know that Ardbert's back in 5.1. We just see
no, we
Ardbert.
see him. No, we see Ardbert. Like, we are talking about how great the warriors.
That's the
That
start of
happens
5.2.
in 5.2.
Oh.
That all happens in 5.2, where basically someone is roaming the countryside killing sin eaters, and we
Right.
don't know at first who it is, and then obviously it's Ardbert. And there's this whole redemption arc of the Warriors of Light, and at that point we've not seen Ardbert yet. So there's this whole side quest where we do a bunch of research into the Warriors of Light with the person in the library that I can't remember the name of, and we're giving this speech of basically what we know of the Warriors of Light, and all of the citizenry is like, yeah, maybe we judged them wrong all this time. And at that point Ardbert walks up while we're after we have publicly sung the praises of the Warriors of Light.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
so
but
yes, we have absolutely set him up to be able to do what he does.
Yeah.
But like, we could try a little harder to directly oppose him there. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe we could say, "Hey, that's not Ardbert. He's gone. That's some, like, I don't know. I'm just that whole thing where I was like, oh man, Elidibus has really like gotten one over on us. Clearly, we have to like oppose him from the shadows because we can't oppose him directly." I'm like, can't we though? Why? Could we try?
I mean,
We've thought of.
I think the thing is like we didn't think the populace was ready to, like us telling them about the Warriors of Light from the start was probably a bit of a stretch.
Then being
us,
like,
and then us telling them immediately after there's a shadow race of people that's out to get you too.
and they're
you don't
wearing
need to
one of
say
the
that.
Warriors of Light, like a suit.
You don't
Yeah.
even need to say that. You can just say, that's not, like, I know that's not the Warrior of Light.
But he looks just like him.
They were really good people, except for that guy.
Except
Yeah,
for that one dude. But like to some extent, there is a basis to explain that, like, hey, that's not a Warrior of Light, because like when you do the side quest, you're hunting down Warriors of Light that turn Sin Eaters, which they're obviously not still the Warriors of Light that we knew. So yeah, like there's this whole back and forth about, how are we going to depose Elidibus? Because, we know right away it's not Ardbert, and there's only one left, so we assume it has to be Elidibus.
I mean, it could be an unsundered. I mean, it could be one of the sundered ones.
Yeah.
But there's only one unsundered left. Yeah.
So we get this idea that since he's going around killing Sin Eaters, we're going to go to Raktika and kill a Sin Eater first, because there's been one sighted. And sure enough, Elidibus shows up, and we see through the ruse immediately. He knows he's caught, and immediately tells us of his plan to continue on with the rejoining, that he's trying to inspire, more people to do things in the name of light, to continue flipping the first towards light so it will rejoin.
Yeah. And then he turns everybody into a hero of light.
Yeah.
because apparently it's not that Hydaelyn chose us. It's that we saw a star shower and it awakened like ancestral memories, and that's what activated. And then once those memories have been activated, then you can hear Heidelin. And Heidelin's just like always doing that, I guess.
Yeah, it's
calling out to people.
Calling out, trying to reach new people with the echo. So yeah, like basically, we confront him in Raktika, and then he shows up in the Crystarium shortly thereafter, and starts the star showers and inspires everyone in the Crystarium to like go be heroes.
Yeah, and so for the next little bit, like the weather everywhere is star showers. The dark's gone again.
There's this whole
Hooray.
side quest that happens after that where like we're trying to help out the people at the Crystarium because like everyone's basically abandoned their post to go be heroes.
Yeah, everybody wants to roam the countryside and grind XP, and nobody's staying home to mind the store.
Which, admittedly, not a bad way to cause chaos.
Yeah, a given area can only support so many heroes at a time.
Start running into that inverse ninja law.
Yeah.
So, at the very end of 5.2, we're once again seeing a scene of Xenos, but like it's Xenos walking through Emerald. And apparently Xenos his entire life has been having the dream about the final days of Emerald, but I assume something about the Garleans can't have the echo since they can't perform magic either.
Yeah, they're either
the path of creating a false echo.
Yeah, basically
Yes.
Garleans have extremely weak ether, and this is why they were historically an oppressed peoples and were driven up into the awful mountains that nobody wanted to live in. But then they found ceruleum and made Magitech and came back with a vengeance. But yeah, their personal ether is extremely weak. So yeah.
But yeah, so he's apparently he would have had the echo were he not Garlean, because he's seen the star showers and the final days of Emerald his entire life, which maybe has driven him insane. I don't know. And we're introduced to a character that we're gonna find out later is Fandaniel, but like we don't really know anything about the character other than Xenos has seen the star showers too.
Do we see him uncloaked yet at this point?
No, we just see him in
we
the
just
white.
hear him. Yeah.
We hear him and we see him in the white outfit.
But he's very seems like an Asian, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
Like
super
I
sus.
assumed it was another Asian at that point, but like I didn't know who it was, and God, I didn't know it would be
Whose body he was going to be using?
Yeah.
Asahi or whatever.
That asshole.
Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, I appreciate that because it gives me a second chance to possibly punch him in the face.
Yeah,
repeatedly.
fair. It is a very punchable face.
It's true.
He's the worst.
I can kill him all over again.
I mean, and that's part of what has made some of this frustrating, is because you now have two characters that I hate that are set up to be the villains of Endwalker. I hope it is going to be a pivot quickly, or there's something else that we're not seeing. But like, they're just both homicidal maniacs, and
I mean, I personally hope that Fandaniel takes Xenos to the moon and they both get stepped on by a king behemoth.
that would be so good.
Like,
I do know that Xenos is ridiculously popular for some reason, and I honestly don't know why.
I don't either.
I don't know. Long hair, looks tired all the time. I don't know.
I mean, so
But like, they were able to write a compelling story from a villain that I could like. If you told me before Shadowbringers that MXL would be compelling, then I wouldn't have believed you.
It's true.
Right.
well,
So-
I mostly didn't think most of the Asians were terribly compelling before Shadowbringers.
We had already seen quite a bit of Emmett Selk before Shadowbringers. But
Saw a little bit
he
of him
was,
during
he was a
Stormblood.
very one-dimensional character when we saw him.
Yeah.
and maybe we're going to feel differently about these two characters over time.
So,
but I sincerely doubt it.
Here's the problem. We've already had a full expansion to get to know Xenos. He was also the main villain of Stormblood.
Yeah,
It's true.
Although we didn't interact with him all that much over the course. I don't know.
I mean, we interacted with him.
He just wanted to fight us. He still just wants to fight us.
Yeah.
He turned himself into a dragon so he could kill us. Then now
he's murder sexual, and he's got the hots for us.
And well, the thing is like I do remember they did a good job of building him up as this other being that's super powerful.
No, they didn't. I was never going to lose those fights, okay? I'm a tank.
Okay.
I have opinions about hopeless fights in RPGs in general, but especially MMOs.
I mean, they sure make you do a bunch of hopeless fights. I will say, did they have you do a hopeless fight in Shadowbringers?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
The stupid...
Like the very first time you fight him and he's using all his different sword powers.
No, that's
crazy
Stormblood in
things.
Shadowbringers.
Oh, sorry, Shadowbringers.
Yeah,
It's the monk dude.
Renji.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
That was awful.
That is thankfully, however, kind of short.
I was going to say one of the things I thought Shadowbringers did very well, not to belabor how much I loved it, is they made you feel hopeless without having you do a hopeless fight.
Yeah.
Like that moment when you are like, oh, I am dying. Like my character is actually dying here. And like sick with something that I can't punch. They make that feel very hopeless in a very in a different way.
So I think that it is narratively useful to have the hero lose fights. Like it's one of those things where if you flatly always say fights you can't win are bad, then you're like chopping off a whole bunch of narrative potential.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's like every Spider-Man
mechanically,
story
I hate it. I hate it almost every time.
But it doesn't work as well for a game.
But it's got to be fast.
Yeah,
yes. That's the real important part.
Like,
don't make me waste resources on this fight I couldn't have actually won in the first place.
And my number one thing, don't make me win a fight enough to then lose it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like that's what always bugs me about the quote unquote hopeless fight, because when one of those happens, there is always a point where the NPC cheats. Like as a tank, I will go along to a point where I still am at full health, they're still slowly going down, and then all of a sudden the you took too long to die mechanic kicks in and it kills me.
Yeah. Like the absolute best version of the fight that you are meant to lose and cannot win is actually from a Star Wars game, where it's like, at one point it's like, oh, you're some guy that nobody's ever heard of except for this game, and you're gonna go toe to toe with Darth Vader? No, you are not. The camera gets exactly as far as panning around to this might be a fight, and then it is very clear that it is not. And like, that's great because it's fast.
Is that also the game where it's kind of a horror game because Darth Vader is kind of a slasher villain?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought there was a game. Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought there was a game where you were like actively fleeing from Darth Vader because like
yes
yeah,
he is a slasher. He's basically a slasher villain from a video game where like
he is so overwhelmingly powerful that you can immediately tell he is in a whole other league than you are, and you need to run.
He's the nemesis / X / giant vampire lady. Yeah.
There's no it is apparent from the jump that this is not a fight that you win. And I think that's the important part, is like, I mean, it's the important part if I do it. If I'm a DM for a game and I'm going to start a fight where the players can't win, I'm going to make that immediately apparent.
Mm-hmm.
We just had one of those.
Also, looking at you, Wrath of the Righteous.
Right, yeah, same deal. Like,
Oh yeah.
Wrath of the Righteous puts you in a boss fight where you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna do. Oh, wait, what's happening here? You should never guess.
No, that boss is probably going to fireball your level 3 party and kill all of them.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
I always resent the wasted time. That's it. Like, if I knew I needed to just lose this fight, I would just lose the fight.
At least in Wrath of the Righteous, you really only need one action for you to find out there was a problem there.
It's correct. Because you also probably can't hit them.
No, you cannot. You run up and you miss, and then they kill you.
At least MMOs are at least every MMO that's not Final Fantasy XIV is usually good at telling you this by putting a skull instead of a level.
But that's just for bosses that are supposed to be hard, not for bosses that can't kill.
Well, see, and that's the thing is like when I first, this is an old WoW story. I used to be terrified of every single dungeon because if you're out in the world and you see a skull, that means it's like 8 levels above you, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I go into this dungeon. I'm like, I can't fight these things. They're at least 8 levels above me.
Yeah, that was maybe bad messaging there.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. So 5.3 is probably the longest patch of the sequence.
Yeah, it's the end of it's the actual end of Shadowbringers, and then the remaining 2 are the setting up Endwalker.
5.2 felt like a large waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the dungeon in 5.2?
Academia something?
Kiter?
Not a Niter, because that was level 81.
Yeah. One of
That was
those.
the initial one. Academia something.
What
No,
were
a
you
Nemesis
doing
Niter.
there?
Finding out who Elidibus really was.
It was a Nemesis, a Niter.
Yeah.
Right.
That was it, yeah.
It's the one where Ishtola is in the giant library and finding stuff.
Yeah, it's where we find out like that Elidibus is the title of the like
the
what the
emissary.
title means, and that Elidibus is like the heart of Zodiark and all of that.
Which does bring up an important question. Why is he walking around?
Yeah, that's basically the moment where we're like, wait a minute, he shouldn't be here.
Right, like
How is this
should
possible?
He should have become Zodiark, and that's
Like,
it. That's done.
Yeah, he should be like imprisoned in the moon.
I'm sure that's never going to come up again.
Yeah.
So 5.3 opens up, and we're talking to some kids in the library, and they're wanting more information on the Warriors of Light because they want to go off and help people. And, we ultimately give them ideas of how to help people, other than going out into battle.
Yeah.
But while we're in the Crystarium, we're kind of looking out over the world, and Elidibus rolls up behind us, and it's very clear that he had no intention of being there, and we didn't expect him to be there. And for the briefest of moments, instead of us, he sees one of the robed Amarot figures. And he doesn't know what that means, and at this point, I don't think we know what that means. But he tells us, like, he goes all Bond villainy and tells us that, like, he wants to save the world, and, in order to do that, he has to rejoin everything. And Grahatia that stumbles up upon us and basically tells him that, if he's going to start trouble, please leave. And Elidibus makes an attempt, I think, to take Grahatia out with some Asian ability, but it doesn't work on Grahatia. We don't know why. And he comments that Grahatia's soul is unusually dense. And I don't know if anything really ever came of that throwaway statement, but Grahatia is fine. And we end up going back to the source and find out that our companions are really in bad shape. That Kryl is basically having to work around the clock trying to stabilize the ether
Yeah, she is exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's one thing that we've seen several times throughout this game is like when you're expending ether, it physically wears you out. So she's basically going in cycles of stabilizing the ether on the companions and then resting immediately.
Having some Archon loaf.
Archon.
I love all of those scenes because I'm a Lalafell, and when it's like me, Tatru, and Cryo like in these really serious conversations, it's like there's a little bit of comedy in the three Lalafell like standing over the like sleeping bodies of all of their comrades, being like, yes, this is very serious. We must deal with this. Like, we are also adorable.
Dr. Children, agree.
We are actual adults. We are going to do a business.
So they plot this plan of, basically creating soul containers.
Auracite.
Auracite.
Because we know that we can put people in Auracite, because that's what we do with the Asians, so that we can murder them.
The problem being, if we put them in, by default, they won't have any of their memories. Like, their soul will transfer, but they won't have any of their memories. So Grahatia is trying to abuse the fact that the Allagans could do memory transference. So he goes down this entire research route of, maybe my blood. Oh, wait, I can't put blood in a crystal.
Yeah, because remember, he is descended from the Allagan, royal bloodline. That's why he could access the Crystal Tower.
So they kind of figure out this plan of, being able to use his crystalline form in place of blood, since he's slowly turning into a crystal.
Yeah, he's getting more and more Blue Rock person.
He's becoming Magni.
He's more
so
useful than Magni.
At some point, we're asked to go check whatever librarian niter that we can't remember the name of. And because we left Ishtola there, because she was going to study looking for ways to help out. And we get there, and our old buddy Elidibus has abducted her.
Because that's what Asians do.
We have to go across Amarat so that we can face him in a one-on-one duel. So we spend some time wandering across Amarat, and when we have this solo duty with Elidibus, and, as a tank, I just whooped up on him real good.
I mean,
I don't know if it was a challenging fight or not.
He tries to say that in fact you are the monster for fighting these things.
It is long. It's not very hard.
Did you ever think that you who fight for good things and me who fights for evil things are in fact the same person? It makes you think, doesn't it?
What is good? What is evil? So yeah, we're basically doing this because he kidnapped Ishtola. And while we're fighting, Ishtola woke up and freed herself and joins us at our side. And, Elidibus basically, is confronted by Ishtola that he's not actually Elidibus. He's a primal called Elidibus that was summoned by the hopes and fears of his people, and he started for a mission, but doesn't really remember what the mission was other than the mission.
Yeah, his memory is spotty.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you learn a whole bunch of things about various people, and you find crystals on the ground.
Yeah. And you also meet your friend
Hyphlodius.
Yeah, that one. And at that point, you don't necessarily there's some revelation that comes later from him. But once we get back Ishtola, we need to go to Yulmore for something because Alpha knows in Yulmore. And while we're in Yulmore, the star showers happen again. And what happens differently this time is a bunch of warriors of light start spawning in to fight us.
Yeah, like weird ghostly ones.
Yes, we're the warriors of darkness.
Yeah, and these warriors of light that are like literally yellow light are there to vanquish us. So,
And they're
we're
apparently
also finding out that like I think at this point we put 2 and 2 together that this looks a lot like the summonings from the Crystal Tower.
Yeah.
And we better go check on the Crystal Tower. So we get kind of a cutscene that's like actually in the past, where it shows Becklug and Elidibus are working on perfecting the soul transference. And
Gratia, not Elidibus.
Oh yeah, sorry, Gratia and Becklug.
Becklug.
Yeah.
And basically, just as they had prepared the vials and gotten his blood to transfer successfully, Elidibus storms in and takes one of the vials. And because the vial is basically Allegan blood now, or registers as Allegan blood, it gives Elidibus the ability to control the Crystal Tower. And Elidibus starts using the Crystal Tower to just en masse summon warriors of light from other realms. And we have to fight our way. So from Yulmore, we're given an airship and are going to fly back to the Crystarium. And one of these warrior of light dragoons punctures the balloon of the airship, and we go crashing to the ground, and the Hero's Gauntlet dungeon starts, where we essentially just fight tons of warriors of light as we cross it. And at the very end, like a whole bunch more warriors of light come in, and our party decides they can hold them off and create an opening big enough for us to get into the Crystarium.
So here's my question for you. Because it even says at some point that he doesn't even need all of them. He just like takes their ether and their soul and brings them in because that's easier. Does this mean like he is like mass depopulated warriors of lights from like the other shards?
And that makes me wonder,
Probably.
like, is that going to cause a long-term ramification? Because he's basically like caused the same thing that happened to our friends, where their soul transferred, but not their body.
I mean, we vanquished their spirit. I think that's
Right,
they're all dead.
Yeah, I assume so.
Mm.
They're
Like-
super dead at this point, I assume.
Yeah,
So, like,
which makes me wonder if like are all of the other shards going to start tending towards darkness now? That wouldn't be good.
Ugh.
Also, one thing this dungeon I really enjoyed, because as you're traveling cross country, like all of these folks that you interacted with over the course of the expansion, like come to your aid in various ways.
It's really
it's great.
fun. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
the Fae come in, and like Peas Blossom and Puck, and basically the people that you fought during the Twintania fight are there to help you out as well. And then like all these Talos come in and help you, and
And like the train engineers, and like
And this is also where Hildebrand can show up.
Yep.
I really enjoyed when they did something similar in the dungeon right at the end of Stormblood, where it was like everybody is there, and
Gimlet Dark.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not just Gimlet Dark, but also what is it?
Alamigo.
Just Alamigo.
Right.
Alamigo.
And they're getting better and better with it, and I love that. I love those little details. It makes the dungeon so much more fun.
I'm a sucker for here's all the friends you made along the way back to help you out. It's great.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it makes it feel really worthwhile that you interacted with all these characters. So yeah, like they basically create an opening, and you're going to slip inside the the Crystal Tower and take down Elidibus. And just as you're on the outskirts of the Crystarium, you run into Grahatia and Becklug, and they basically had to escape for their lives. Becklug is like really wounded, can't continue on, and Graha wants to come with you because he wants to be the big hero, just like you. So the two of you begin the ascent of the Crystal Tower, and you're fighting these, Warrior of Light apparitions along the way. And the problem is, just as him taking actions causes the crystallization of his body to get worse, Elidibus taking actions on his behalf with his blood is causing the crystallization to get worse. And as you're climbing the tower, he is getting more and more rock-like.
Yeah, we're seeing the crystallization like spread over his body over the course of this.
Right. So you get to this point where you're at a landing, and it looks like the landing where you fight the dragons in Crystal Tower. But he falls, and around that same time, just a ton of Warriors of Light summon in at once, and he's like, I can't keep up anymore. You need to go stop this. I'll take care of them. And he casts Break and basically like stuns the whole group. And
he also says that he will see us at least one more time before he plays his final card.
Yeah,
because
he
you're
specifically says he has a trump card up his sleeve, that he'll see us again.
Because it's like every time it's like, you really shouldn't be here. You really shouldn't be here. This is not healthy for you. And he's like, no. And then finally he's like, you know what? Nope, this is it. Now is the time when you don't get to tell me I can't do it anymore.
I slap him across the face. Be like, Grahatia, stop it.
So, as you were finding all of these sigils of the 14 members of the Conclave, one of them specifically, your ghost buddy tells you, had the power to summon friends. So that MacGuffin is going to become important all of a sudden. We make it up to the top of the tower, and so the master plan of Elidibus is he's going to summon all of these Warriors of Light in, and then feed off of their essence and turn himself into an avatar of the Warrior of Light, aka the first Warrior of Light, the one that we always see the Amano art of.
Yeah,
it's Mr. Final Fantasy.
That we have a costume from ARR for. He's basically.
If you're lucky enough to get the drop from Crystal Tower, cough cough.
I got that costume from Recruit a Friend, I think.
It's a drop in Crystal Tower, the first one even, so it's really hard to get. It's not hard to get if you were playing the game as a tank during that time period.
Maybe that's why I have it. So yeah, basically we're going to fight off against the Warrior of Light, and he summons all these people in, consumes them, turns into this giant avatar, and thinks he's just going to straight wreck everyone. And then we clutch this little stone to our chest and bring in our friends, and we summon other Warriors of Light from other shards. So kind of like the Hades fight, we see the little like areas of light come in, and then that's where the folks for the duty summon in, and now we're in the seat of sacrifice duty. And we do that fight, and honestly it's not going super great, and we get a quick time event that basically pulls us all into the realm of shadow, I think, and stuns us.
It pulls us into it pulls us into the pocket dimension the Asians go to.
Yeah.
To like chill out and relax. And then he
We're
then
chained there.
well
It's
we're
the
and
thing
then we're
Hades
left
tried to
there.
do to us at the end of that fight. At the end of that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're left there
Right.
because
And-
we can't escape.
And it's one of those tricksy QuickTime events because, like, realistically, you're mashing your button and it's not doing anything, but it doesn't count at all until the very last second.
Yeah, like maybe the last third of that bar does anything when you press the button. Maybe.
So yeah, basically, we're doing the fight and we do the QuickTime event, and then all of a sudden, you know, Elidibus is like basically congratulating himself on the battle, and from out of nowhere, one of the Robdacians appears.
Yep.
And snaps his fingers, and all of us come back in. And then as he's walking off, he does the Emmett Selk wave.
He does this little hand wave.
So Emmett Selk came in one more time to help us fight Elidibus.
No, because again, it was
Or at
established
least a
way
memory
back
of him.
that like Emmett's that we like the original us, the Asian version of us or whatever, and Emmett Selk were like best buds. So we
Yeah.
summoned our friend.
And we've also along the way found out that basically we're the 14th
Yeah.
member of the Conclave.
Because we
Like-
know that for sure by now. Like as players, we've known that for a while.
Shadowbringers strongly hinted at it.
Yeah.
Very,
Yes.
very strongly hinted at it during the main story content.
Yeah, but at this point, the character has realized it.
So we're basically like another member of the Conclave, the one that went out into the world and adventured and helped other people and wasn't around when the 13 made their decision to summon Zodiark. We were out in the world helping people. But we were absolutely someone they all knew. And like he cannot believe that, we beat him. So we do the fight and he's like, he was basically going into like an almost, this was just a setback dialogue when behind us, Grahatia shows up. And Grahatia says that basically, like, while y'all were fighting, I was preparing a spell. And the entire Crystal Tower functions as a repository for Aether, just like a white Aurosite crystal. And I'm going to basically use it to consume you just like we would with Aurosite. So he consumes Elidibus, and for a brief minute we see like Elidibus's spirit self, and he suddenly remembers like what his core mission was, and it's kind of almost bittersweet there for a minute, other than the fact that like Elidibus is mostly just awful, and then he fades away because he gets consumed by the tower.
Yeah, I was less ambivalent on Elidibus going away. Like,
I'm
ready
kinda with
for him to
you.
go?
yeah. Well, Elidibus was also just less interesting villain than him itself.
He was around for a lot longer. He's been around since ARR's patch content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was the white robed Asian that was
The
being
one
diplomatic
originally on the
and
moon.
trying to work with us.
That doesn't make him more interesting.
No,
I agree.
no, I'm 100% with you there. But yeah, so Elidibus is gone, and Grahatia has turned into a crystal statue.
Yeah.
But he's told you that he's put his soul and memory into this crystal, and he loves you very, very much. And would you please let him continue to live in the source with you, because he loves you very, very much.
Which has its own questions. Like, is it fair to take this multi-hundred-year-old version of Grahatia and basically copy over the version that's in the source?
It is a little, yeah.
So there's some good questions there.
That version has been sealed in the Crystal Tower since we were there in the first time.
Right.
So it's not like there's any missing bits.
Yeah, and if not for all of this, would remain sealed in the Crystal Tower, and like, yeah, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, we're not overwriting anything. We're just
Totally.
adding to it.
Yeah, we're just adding a set of memories. There's no conflict between what's here and what's
Right.
The better question is, can I get statue Grahatia as decoration for my house?
You
Wow.
horrible monster.
That would be awesome.
Wow.
Gonna use you as a coat rack.
Rude.
I mean,
Tell
turn him
me-
into a fountain.
Tell me that Grahatia would not be like, oh, okay, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he would be 100%
Yeah,
on board
okay.
with it.
Would, but it doesn't make it okay.
So we have no Grahatia. He has transferred himself into a vial. We now have to do the same thing for all the scions because it's time for everybody to go home. Like, we've beat the big baddie, but now it's time for everybody to go home.
Yeah, which means it's time for them to all say goodbye to the friends that they've made over the years that they've lived here.
And probably the most touching one of those is when we go to see Seto to give Seto Ardbert's crystal.
Yeah.
Yes, that was great.
And we tell Seto that, like, Ardbert's in us.
And
But-
Seto can
Well, Seto
hear
closes his
Ardbert.
eyes, and yeah, that was really touching.
Tries to propose to Ishtola.
I mean,
You know your Stola is going to find a way back, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling
No.
we're going to make our way back.
See, I don't
Somehow.
know that. I
It's
don't
like, I
know
feel
about
real
that.
bad that Reen is basically like stranded in the first now.
So yes,
Her I
I feel-
actually feel okay for.
I mean, she's got Gaia. They'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Gaia is
Yeah.
awful.
Gaia's
Gaia is
great.
so awful.
No, they're a wonderful couple.
Yeah,
They're
totally
adorable.
They can go
Yes.
get coffee biscuits together and have a wonderful life.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm totally here for this.
Who is this?
From the Eden.
Oh, I
stuff.
haven't done any Eden
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, you need to do Eden because that's where
That's actually important to the Shadowbringer stuff.
it is, and it's important if you like rain.
The
Because that's-
dialogue changes too. If you have not done Eden, Reen says something different versus if you have done Eden when she says her goodbyes to you.
Mm.
Yeah, she's
That makes sense.
very emotional if you haven't done Eden. And what's his name gives her his gunblade.
Oh,
Thancred,
Deadford.
yes.
Sacred, yeah.
Yeah,
But like, this is going to be interesting because they so frequently make sure you go back and like visit their old content. It's going to be weird to see how they shoehorn in the source like later on.
I mean, because we can still go back. Like,
We
We
can go anytime we
can
want.
still go back, yes.
Yeah, so basically, like, we go through a whole sequence of, Alphino goes to Yulmore, says goodbye to the Nuzzes. We say goodbye to Reen. Then Lena and all the people at the Crystarium say goodbye to us. And then
Alice says goodbye to the people at the leper colony, and the kid is improving. He's like actually speaking sometimes. So the reversal of the whole Sin Eater thing works.
Yeah, so the thing that Becklug figured out is
Mhm.
actually working.
Yep, this is important.
Yeah, this is a key plot point going forward. And then we suck them into vials and carry them in our pocket and go back to the source and apparently just lay the crystals at their feet and magic happens.
Thankfully, they were all well labeled, apparently.
Yeah.
I had that same thought.
I could have gotten real awkward. Yeah, we're gonna put you back in the vial real quick while we switch it back around.
Nah, just leave Yashola in like Thancred's body.
It's I'm honestly a little surprised they didn't have like Alice try to like pull a prank on us for a second.
And then at the end, we once again have a non sequitur cutscene with Xenos and Fandaniel that we now know as Fandaniel. And
We get to see
basically
him.
tells us his master plan to, wipe the slate clean, destroy everything.
Yeah, I
but
guess.
basically he's really tired of doing all this shit that the Unsundered wanted to bring back this place that he doesn't remember and whatever. And now there aren't any Unsundered to tell him what to do, so he's just gonna burn it all down.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants, which is apparently burn everything down. I don't know.
You're not
Oh,
a real mom.
okay.
And make sure we do the like 360 pan insane villain laugh while Xenos is bored to tears and rolls his eyes.
Yeah, Xenos is basically like, look,
crouching on a throne.
as long as I get to fight the Warrior of Light again, whatever.
Like, honestly, the most I have ever related with Xenos is when a cutscene fades in and I see Xenos in it, his apparent mood reflects mine.
Like, I will not be shocked at all if Xenos like murders the hell out of Fandaniel at the first opportunity.
I'm going to be sad because that'll be the second time he gets murdered that we haven't gotten the chance to do it.
It's true.
True.
I did kind of love in the very first scene that Xenos had with Fandaniel, and Fandaniel's talking about, like, hopefully, our past acquaintance won't disturb you. And Xenos is like, who the hell are you? Because Xenos clearly doesn't remember who this person is.
Yeah. No one of importance whatsoever.
I'll be honest, I don't remember who Fandaniel was from before this.
We haven't met Fandaniel as an Ascian, but his host we had met at Sishdo's brother.
Yatsu's buddy.
Or not Yatsu's brother.
Yatsu's brother.
Yeah, that's Asahi, Yatsu's brother, awful brother, who like pretended to be diplomatic and wanted to help us for about 3 seconds before revealing that he was utterly just
right. Because we couldn't even get through the initial meeting without him telling us his actual intentions when nobody else was around.
Yes.
Leaning in close and whispering, "I'm going to murder you all." Ha ha ha.
There's nothing you can do about it. So
but yeah, we didn't get to kill him the last time because, Yatsuya did it. Which is, reasonable.
I was going to say, I don't exactly begrudge her that, except I really, really wanted to do it myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say she didn't deserve to do it herself also. You're going to have to break this up into 2 shows.
I am? Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, we've I don't know, we've been recording for a really long time at this point, so we should probably do a sign off. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully we gave you enough of a full spoilers warning at the beginning, because it's absolutely that. Hopefully you're going to be joining us on the 19th in Endwalker, and I'm ready to get back in the swing of Final Fantasy XIV again. And it's good times. Anyway, I don't know. We will probably not see you next week. Actually, we will probably have 2 weeks of this, but it'll technically see you next week, so you won't know any different.
Or you wouldn't have if we hadn't said that.
Yep. Good
Spoilers.
night.
I am honest with our fans. Anyway, night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.